Hello, this is Deborah Carmona today. This is a product review of the Big Shot machine that you use for die cuts and for embossing. I've actually found another use that I can use it for in art for printmaking. When you buy it, it comes with the Big Shot platform and the thin die adapter and these two acrylic panels. You have the option of also purchasing the magnetic platform, and I have mixed reviews about this, which I will talk to you about in a little bit. A useful tool is this right here to help remove the little pieces that need to be poked out of small holes on the die cut, and I'll show you how that works. And then you can purchase separately the die cuts that you choose. The die cuts are metal, and many times they have very delicate punches. And you usually get quite a few pieces to each set, and there's multiple ways that you can use them. The Big Shot also does embossing, which is like a raised design, and you can buy these little folders, embossing folders. You put your paper between it, and then you can impress a design. This has got sort of a snowflake, little dots design. This one I thought would be good for Christmas cards with some pine branches. But you can buy a variety of different embossing folders. And these folders don't cost very much at all. So they can just add an extra embellishment to your papers. You use these with the embossing machine. You would only use it with just the Big Shot platform. And then you put your piece of paper between your folder. Put your piece of paper between the folder, and you would put on an acrylic sheet. And then you put your folder and your paper, and then you put on your other acrylic plate and roll it through, and that's how you get your printed, embossed design. Die cuts, they come in a package like this. Okay, I'm going to open this up because I want to show you something. They come in this little plastic bag. Save these bags. These bags can be useful if you happen to cut out extra things that you can store if you want to cut out a bunch at a time. So save the bags. And see, I reuse the bag. I store all these little things. I have no idea what I'm going to use them for, but they're ready made, and I just used a little extra time to make them from the scraps. And so we'll just have them when I figure out what I want to use it for. They're already done. I can just pull them out and add them to a card or an envelope or a package or whatever. Now, every one of the die cuts comes in this envelope that looks just like this. Let me show you how these come. Inside this little pocket, it's like this, and then it usually has your metal die cuts, and there's a piece of sticky tape on here so they stick to it. I do want to mention something about the die cut machine. Here's the magnet, and as you can see, I got a few pieces on here, the pieces that I'm going to use for my project today. This is magnetized, so they just stick on here, okay? Now, I have sort of mixed reviews about this thing right here. The reason is, sometimes because of the magnet, once you put your acrylic top on, the magnetism is not as good. And that annoys me because sometimes you set them on your piece of paper and it tends to move around, and you don't want that shifting around because you could mess up your cut. And so I find this magnetic board basically is not helpful. It is useless. When you buy the Big Shot machine, it comes with your basic base, which is about a little bit more than a ½ inch thick. And then when you're doing, and that's good for embossing, but when you want to do the die cuts, you just use this little adapter. And you know what? This is what I prefer to use. So let me just recommend, don't go to the extra trouble of buying the magnetic board. Because what you'll find is something about the magnetism, and things get shifted or it gets moved, it gets knocked out of place. Unless you want to use it for holding your die cuts, but you're only going to be able to get so many on here. I bought it and I'm disappointed in it. Because as you use your acrylic plates, they get warped. They're not perfectly straight anymore. And it puts a barrier between the metal and the magnet. So it's really not helpful. Now, one way to counterbalance it is you could take those little sticky tabs and you could hold it down. But you know what? That's extra work. I don't like extra work. I like things to be quick and easy because my time is precious. I have many things on my plate and I want to be able to get things done at a good time. Okay, one more tip I want to share. I don't throw away anything. I keep a box, and this box is overflowing from the stuff I've been cutting out. I used to do scrapbooking, and I made a scrapbook for all my children, and I've saved all those leftover pieces of paper because I don't throw anything away. And now that I'm into card making, and I have still all of these scraps, so I don't have to buy any more paper. But I will cut out my big pieces, and then I will save it because there's still a lot of paper here. I could cut out little tiny things right here. And sometimes, you know, when I have a little extra time, I'll sit down and I'll pull out some of my small die cuts and I'll just punch out until I've completely exhausted a piece of paper. But you can see that I've got a lot of scraps. These are pieces, hold on. These pieces are just leftover scraps from another project that I did for decorations for an event. And it's cardstock. It's nice cardstock, so I don't want to just throw it away. I save everything. And so I'm going to be using white today to cut out my die cuts. And so I just, when I've used a big piece, and after I've got it so that I've got all my big pieces cut, I throw it in another box, and my box right now is overflowing. You can see I'm doing Christmas colors because that's kind of the project I'm working on right now. And I will keep using this until it is down to the smallest little piece before I actually throw anything away. So you like this piece? I've got all the big stuff. I still have, you can cut out some small things right there. And that's from a different project. So like I could use from this new one, I could cut out little things like this. I could cut out this maybe, if it can fit. No, I guess if I could fit it on there just right, maybe I can cut that out. But like I said, I try to use up every little piece of paper. That saves money. That you may spend money on the other materials, but on the paper, you just keep going with what you have. And these are just made from the leftover scraps from the last project. So this is like the third time the paper has been recycled, and that's what's left of the pile of paper. Now there's still some pieces that you can get small flowers or some green leaves out of. So I will probably go through that stack one more time before I actually throw anything out. So that'll be 4 times recycled. Okay, so when you use your die cut machine, use the Big Shot platform. And since we're using the die cuts, we need our thin die adapter. And then we use one of our acrylic boards. And yes, you can see that it's got a lot of marks on it. It gets roughed up. I kind of keep one side smooth and the other side rough. I don't know. Maybe that's why it gets warped. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I guess you could do both sides. Okay, I'm going to use some of my scrap pieces of paper. See, I still got some space here, and there's some small things on there. So I can, there's a smooth side, and then there's a rough. This has got the teeth cut. So make sure you put the teeth down. Make sure it fits. And if you can get more than one on a piece of paper, do so. Try to use up all the paper. Once we've got what we can get out of this piece of paper, actually, you know what? I can get that. I can get this long skinny one right there. And let's see, can this fit? See, if I were using a magnet, those things would probably slip. Okay, then we got that placed on there. We put our acrylic piece on top, and then we crank it. Put that back, set that aside for a minute, and then I want to show you a couple more things. When you pull it off, you see that there's some paper still stuck on. So we use this little brush, and we just kind of go like this to knock out those little pieces. And guess what? I saved those little pieces too. Because one time I saw this person, they did a piece of artwork with the little tiny pieces of different colored paper, and they put it all together to make a picture. And I said, who would want to spend the time cutting out little tiny things? Well, you know what? I have all these little tiny things, and maybe one day I'll feel inspired. I mean, it could be confetti for a birthday party if you mix up the colors. Okay, and sometimes there are some little pieces that don't come off when you use the brush. So this is where I use a little pin. And I just kind of poke with the pin and knock out the pieces, and I think I got it. And if it ever gets stuck, you just kind of put your pin in there and you separate it, and then you can kind of pull it off. And see, look at that. There's no way that I could ever cut out something like that with scissors. That's why I absolutely love to have these little die cutters. They may be a little expensive, but these are a whole lot cheaper than buying multiple punches, because each set comes, I mean, look at how many, this is a beautiful set right here. Look how many different pieces come to this. 14 different cuts from that one. And let me show you this. You've got 4 sizes of squares, and then 4 sizes of circles, 4 different sizes of ovals. So really, you get a lot more for your money. At first, it might seem expensive, but really, it's cheaper in the long run rather than buying a whole bunch of punch stamps. That's why I prefer the die cut system a whole lot better than the punch. So I don't have too many punches anymore. I have a few, but I don't buy punches anymore, because I much prefer this. Okay, just a couple more tips. Here's my jar of confetti. When I'm done for the day, I pour my little things in there. Yeah, it could be confetti, or it could be one day when I feel tedious and I want to use my tiny little pieces that are cut out. I can use it from my jar. They're already cut out. So I don't know what this is going to be one day. But anyways, it'll look pretty as it fills up with little colorful pieces. Here's a little pimento jar, or it could be like a baby jar. This is tiny little pieces that I colored them in different inks. I was just using up scrap pieces of paper and using my various inks. I punched out a bunch of little flowers, so they're kept here. So I have a bunch of ready-made little flowers. in a jar. Who knows? I mean, I'll combine them. I'll mix them with other things. And here's some bigger flowers that I just have in a little bowl. And I was just experimenting with a punch and different color inks. I was trying to get like a twofold color and just playing. Some I liked, some I didn't like. And so, you know, I like to do things in bulk. It's just the way that I work. Here I've got two-tone. And so I keep little containers like that with my small parts, and that's how I use up my scrap pieces of paper. Now I think these, since they were stamped with different inks, they're probably just cheap typing paper. I have a tendency to recycle and use everything up to its maximum, and that's what these are, so that I have handy dandy little flowers to add to whatever project I'm working on if the colors match. The punches are very nice from Stampin' Up. They're much better than some of the things that I picked up at like Hobby Lobby. I've been so frustrated with some punches that I find at Hobby Lobby. Sometimes you push them down and then they get stuck. But the Stampin' Up punches, they work really great. And one really nice feature of them is they have a lock on the bottom, so that you can lock it in a closed position. And then you just release it, and then it opens up. So you want to lock it up, you switch it, and it stays locked. You know what? These die cuts, but the die cuts, they take up a lot less storage space because they all fit in this nice little envelope. So I like the idea. Also, they save me money, but they take up less storage space. Whereas these are kind of bulky. And if you have a whole bunch of these, you need a lot of storage space. And I'm all for reducing the amount of space that stuff takes up. So my conclusion is this was a worthwhile investment. I love the Big Shot machine. I'm glad I have it. And I much prefer the die cut system over the punch system because of this machine. So I hope you found that useful. Please subscribe, because I have a really cool Christmas craft that I came up with using this machine. So please subscribe. Thanks for watching.